Skadoosh ASMR Heavy. Hello there, it's me, your best bud with the ASMR goods. Hope this video finds you well today. Hopefully this video finds you well. And welcome to another installment of Monday night movie club, the movie club, which is usually on a Monday night, Monday. And we are looking, this is this week's assignment, this week's Forrest Gump, because, you know, stupid does is what he says, right? I never actually watched this film before, and I know some of the quotes, especially about life being like chocolate boxing, yeah? Chocolate boxing, and life is like a box of chocolates and all that, yeah. I'd heard that before, but never actually watched the film. Which makes sense now. That's why, yeah, actually, so before we get straight into, you know, colouring in this page and talking a bit about the film and that, and etc. If you've got any requests for any type of video or anything at all, all you gotta do is drop it in the comment section down below, and I'll give it a go. I'll do my best to give it a go, just for you. And okie dokie. Anyway, indeed. It's I can't believe I've never watched it, actually. I don't know why I've never watched it. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm glad this is in here, and I'm glad I got to watch it, because it was a thoroughly enjoyable film, to be fair. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It was interesting. The whole idea of everything that happens to him in the whole story, you know, spoilers ahead and all that, yeah, spoilers ahead. I've not been saying that in this so far, but it kind of goes with the territory if I'm going to speak about something. And these films are old, so if you've not watched them, that's why it's like a classic movie, This is like 30 years old, this film, or 31 years old, pretty much. I think it said 94 when it came out. It's old. That's an old film. Depending on when. If it was pre today, the day that this is coming out, then it's 31. But if it's not quite coming this year, then it's 30. That's an old film. That's a real old film. As far as films go, it's not actually that old. It's not that old, is it? Or is it? Anyway, yeah, thoroughly enjoyable little watch. Like I say, the actual sequence of events that unfurl. Crazy, really, just crazy. My moral of the story, though, for it is just to not overthink things and just go for what you want, yeah. If you've got a dream, go for it, yeah. I think that's what the moral of the story is. Also, I don't know why this keeps happening, but once again, there's a fly or something similar in here, so if you can hear it and it's annoying, yeah, it's potentially annoying me too, but hopefully it doesn't pick it up too loud. Anyway, let's get into this. But yeah, until I'd watched it, I wouldn't have known how the significance of this feather, which, do we colour that in now? Because actually, yeah, I mean, that was the colour of it, and then also the bench. That's an interesting way of setting up the film, to be fair. I also looked for like trivia and facts and stuff, like I have before, but a lot of them, I think I'm going to stop doing that segment because it's not that interesting as I was hoping it'd be. I thought there'd be lots of like interesting little things there, like, oh wow, that's actually interesting, but I'm struggling a little to come up with stuff which actually is interesting. It's always just stuff like, oh, they didn't want him for the role, or they didn't want that person for the role, which is interesting kind of, but like, I feel like that's a given that a lot of these people aren't first choice a lot of the time, because otherwise what's the point of casting? It'd just be a film made for that person, which is something that does happen, but you know what I'm saying? Also, I'm not really sure, other than just colouring all these brown, pretty much. You know, what's the end goal of this one? Yeah, crazy film. The whole idea that he's born. Actually, I don't. Did they really? It was still a lot happens, and I only just watched it, so you have to forgive me if I butcher any of it. But I don't. Did they touch on what was wrong with what he was born, what kind of condition he was born with? For his legs to be like they were at the start, I'm not sure if they did. I can't recall if they did touch on that. But anyway, he was born. Also, isn't the bench like a white colour? Also, if you've never seen any of this, yeah, you'll have to forgive that my colouring, my artistic talent is very much low. It's a low level, yeah, it's a low level. So you'll have to bear with me. Or rather, you know, just one of those things that, you know, it's not going to be that good. Yeah, the whole story is interesting, like the way that kind of like bullying and stuff kind of led him into the running. The whole thing's kind of about him running. Oh yeah, that's the other line that I've heard before, because people used to say it to me, like when you was running from something, you'd be like, "Run, Forrest, run," which makes a bit more sense now. But I don't know if you ever find stuff like that, yeah, where you've heard like a quote, people have been using it somewhat wrong. When you hear the actual quote in the film, it's like, that's not quite how people have been saying that. I know you can't really misquote just in terms of the words of it, but I feel like the way that you say stuff's important as well for a quote. You can tell me if you disagree, that's cool. I'm trying to think of what other you don't really get many other colours in like chocolates. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so the whole idea that that's just, yeah, it's just, even like the little snippets that they've put in, they didn't, I assume because they didn't put anything about it, this person isn't based on a real life person of any kind, but the way that they kind of suggested that he met Elvis because his mum used to do like board lodges in the home. He met Elvis, and that's where Elvis got the leg dance, quirky little leg dance that he does from. You know what I'm saying? I'm Elvis, baby. That's an interesting little snippet. I don't know if there's others that went over my head similar. But yeah, so he gets caught running on the football field, and then he ends up being, I don't know if they really gave him a proper position apart, because they just gave him the ball. They never showed anything of him catching. They just usually give it him and let him run. That's kind of crazy. I wonder if the goal of the film was to just come up with as many crazy, ridiculous, coincident type based events that could happen in one person's life and write them all into it. But even then, like, yeah, I think there's a good amount of lessons to take from it. Like I say, just to focus. It's like, if you've got a dream, you should chase it. You should go after it. But also, if you've not got a dream but you've got a talent, maybe sometimes that's when you have to let the talent speak for itself. like he turned out to be good at running, and people kind of said, "Oh, look, you could do this," and he just went with it. I also think there's a little lesson in there about dealing with like tragedies and stuff, because he went through a lot of horrible stuff. What with his, firstly being like bullied, like he was basically. Not that bullying is necessarily bad. Depends on the amount and how it goes down. To be fair, I know that sounds a bit messed up, but that's the truth. I think when bullying goes past bullying into abuse is when the problem becomes a thing, and that line is very hard to distinguish, to be honest. But I'd argue a lot of the time the bullying is what sets you apart. It makes you be a better person. Or at least gives you a thicker skin in life so that you can deal with the worst things that come later. So I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing, and maybe that's what made him into the person he was. It's hard to say. But like I say, that's just my opinion. You can have a different opinion, but it's very subjective. And like I say, it depends on where people draw the line. That's always the important thing. And where it becomes abuse is where you have to be like, nah, this is not right. And sometimes you can't tell how much somebody can take until you put them through what you're going to put them through. Everyone's threshold will be different. Anyway, I think that was important for his character development. So he went through that, and then the whole thing with being in the army, that would have been traumatic as it is, but then losing all those people, but saving all those people, and then losing the person that he really resonated with in Bubba. But at the same time, maybe that's like one of those things as well, like another little lesson in this story, is that you should always keep your promises no matter what, even if the person that you was hoping to do it with is no longer with us. Also, I didn't realise until I watched it that the iconic line comes literally as soon as the film starts, about life being like a box of chocolates and all that. Film starts and then boom, it's right there, instantaneous. It foreshadows the whole thing, doesn't it? You do never know what you're gonna get, and I think that's the case of like what the film sets out to achieve, in my opinion, is to show you do never know, so make the most of it, because we only get one go round in this, and so whatever happens. But I think the other nice life lesson, depending on how old you are, as to how important this is, and how it doesn't matter how old you are. Basically, there's always time. You can always do something new. Look at how many times he changed things throughout the film. So he did the football thing, then he went in the army, then he was ping pong, table tennis, maestro, then he did the shrimp fishing. And that was massive, and then he just ran for 3 years non-stop, which is maybe the craziest thing of the whole thing. Like, I wonder if anyone actually did do that. I wonder if all these little things are based on facts or not, like I say. I did look for some facts, but that didn't come up, so I feel like that would have came up if it was something that was a thing. I feel like that would have been one of the top ones, surely. And And the only thing I didn't really like about the film, but maybe the setup was what they was going for, was when Jenny was like, oh, I don't want to marry her. I don't really understand that. Why would she not want to marry him? He seemed like a decent enough guy. I didn't really get that personally. Unless she thought that he deserved better, in which case fair enough, or she didn't think she could do the right thing by him. In which case that's maybe fair enough, but yeah, I didn't really get that storyline. And then the fact that she was pregnant after they basically had a one-time shenanigans fling-again, and then she left, and I didn't like that either, that she didn't tell him. That was a bit, and she didn't tell him until it was too late and she needed to know that their son was going to be taken care of. I didn't really like that, to be honest. Yeah, it was a bit interesting. But yeah, maybe that's why they did that, so that they could set it up so that it made it more sad when they was going to get married. That she wasn't actually going to be around for as long as he would have liked. That's kind of a sad, like I say, sad story like that. But yeah, there was lots of interesting characters in it as well. Was it I can't remember if it was Captain Dan or Sergeant Dan or whatever his name was. The guy's legs blown off, which Forrest saved. Lots of interesting characters like that with good character development. You know, you had to adjust to what was a pretty horrific thing happening. And you wanted to honourably-ish die with the way you're supposed to. In theory, anyway. You know, never leave a man behind and stuff. Go down with the ship type thing. But in the end, it was like, yeah, very depressed, basically, wasn't he? And then he came back into forest life after he's been saved and lost his legs and that. And I think he was probably happy that Forrest saved him. She made the best of a bad situation, which is the whole point, isn't it, as well? That's what I mean, there's lots of lessons. I don't know if they did this stuff on purpose or not, if it just turned out like this. There's like a little lesson for everybody in this film, which is why I rate it. Yeah, there's little lessons to be taken throughout the whole thing. Yeah, even like Jenny's story isn't quite interesting, right? In a way, because Forrest was always there. Maybe she would have been better to have chosen, to choose Forrest from the start. But she because Forrest was always there for and always wanted to do good right by her, but she ran off and did all these other things, which it's her prerogative. It's her prerogative. She can do what she wants. And it seems, although she was happy for a time here or there, I feel like she would have been happier with Forrest, to be honest. But we'll never know. We'll never know. You know, create and play, create and play. Oh, well, that's good then, ain't it? Let's see, let's try this again. Anyway, like I was saying, like, a thoroughly enjoyable film, really good, really rate it. I thought it was quality. I thought it was really well done, really good characters, really good story. Completely off the walls, far-fetched, but you know, outside of that, it was really good. So. Some other interesting films I watched this week. I watched a film called Juror Number 2 about a guy which I don't think he realised until the time, which is interesting. So basically there's a guy that gets called for jury service. This is slight spoilers, but not too much, so you can still watch it. But this will give you an idea of if you'd want to watch it or not, based on a tiny bit of the plot. You know what I mean? So this guy gets called up for jury service, and he goes, and this trial is for a murder charge. A guy's been charged with murdering his girlfriend. He's a gangbanger, but from what I can tell, they don't give you too much story about the guy, apart from what they show you, kind of thing. I don't know if the sharpener sucks or if I'm just not very good at sharpening. Or these pencils aren't good at being sharpened. Maybe that's the other factor. Look, what is this? Look. Again. Anyway, this guy goes into jury service, and as like what's being told is played out, it turns out the guy was there for quite a lot of it, what was happening, but up to this woman being murdered. And then it dawns on him that actually maybe he was somewhat involved. Which I think is actually kind of crazy, that because he's involved in an accident, but he thinks he's hit a deer. Just look at, you know, it sounds far-fetched, but it actually makes sense when, if you, like I said, I don't want to give you too much information, but I want to give you enough to be like, oh, that actually sounds interesting, yeah? That sounds a bit interesting. So when it plays out like that, that's the way it kind of plays out, and it dawns on him. Actually, was he involved in this? Which, imagine that, that's kind of crazy. Imagine you get called for jury service and something you was involved in. So it kind of plays on that kind of thing, and what should he do? But he's a bit of a changed guy. It's part of the plot as well. So he's like, he just kind of starts sorting his life out, and things are looking better. And then this comes along, and he's got a baby on the way, and now he's got to kind of deal with what's the right thing to do in this situation. So it's really quite interesting. Like I say, it's called Juror 2, or Juror number 2, however you want to look at it. But yeah, it's quite good. It's an interesting kind of topic I'd never really come across before. So but it did make me think. Like I said, that's the important thing. These kind of things makes you think, don't it? And more than anything, it made me think: could that actually happen? And maybe more importantly, has that ever happened? Has somebody been in that situation before? Which, based on the balance of probabilities, surely somebody's actually been involved in something similar. Maybe not quite exactly that one, but you know what I mean, being called up to something they've been involved in. Jury service wise, because it could be anyone, couldn't it? And it's random, and there's always a chance. There's always a chance. Anyway, that was a good film. I also watched a film called I think it was, is it Like Heaven or Just Like Heaven, with Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon. I'd watched it before, but it's good. It's a good little film. I'm just looking for what colour we should do Forest in. Do we do it in green because his name's Forest? I'm pretty sure in the film the bench was white as well, so I feel like we should leave the bench white as well as the feather. Also, I'm a bit disappointed about these sharpened, but like I say, it might be me that was my sharpening ability, or that sharpener was a bit rubbish, maybe. Probably a bit of both. Like I say, my colouring is terrible, so. But it's not too much about the visual, it's about the sound. It's mainly about the sound, Oh, these are rubbish as well. Motorbike for you there, if you heard it, yeah. Shout out to you. The only other thing I've been watching outside of that, oh yeah, that's got Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon in. Oh, sorry about that. Notification. Wasn't even my phone, so that's good, ain't it? But yeah, sorry about that. I would have cut it out, but it's quite far in and I'll forget about it, so I apologise. But at the same time, ASMR is super interpretable, so that might be a trigger for someone, you know. So if it is, you are welcome. one last thing though about Forrest Gump is, I feel like we all want things to be perfect. We've got like this, oh, it needs to be the right time and this, that, the other, and things need to be just right. But that's the thing of life. It isn't. We don't know when the right time is, and if you wait for the right time, things might pass you by. So, and if you wait for things to be perfect, or you try and make things to be perfect, could mean you miss out on stuff too, or maybe it doesn't actually quite work out. Goddamn fly floats back, so if you can hear it, apologies. Just talking about flies, do you reckon they actually try and annoy us on purpose? Sometimes I think they do. I know it's a bit of a crazy take, but it feels like they definitely try and annoy us on purpose sometimes. Anyway, that'll do, Forrest Gump, that'll do. But yeah, just like Heaven, that's a good film. Interesting. It's a bit paranormal. Basically, the guy moves into an apartment of this girl, played by so Mark Ruffalo's character moves into Reese Witherspoon's apartment, but she's actually, spoiler alert, she's actually in a coma, but he can see her spirit. But up until the point they find out she's in a coma, that's why I say spoiler here. They think she's dead, but they work out that she's not, basically, and then they kind of like go from there, kind of thing. It's an interesting another interesting concept. Another interesting concept, yeah. But yeah, this is my terrible colouring in job. Like I say, the important thing was hopefully it made some decent sounds. And in honour of Forrest Gump and life being like a box of chocolates, yeah, here is actual box of chocolates. Luxury collection, yeah. Luxury collection. And as Forrest said, you never know what you're going to get unless you open it up and you have a look at the card within, and then you know exactly what you're going to get. Because in this one we've got Ganju, Rapturous Raspberry, Dark and White Duet, Caramelised Biscuit Bliss, Coffee and Almond Biscotti, that sounds Crispy Biscuit Crunch, Sea Salted Caramel, Zesty Lemon, ooh, Truffle Decadence. Mama said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. But like I said, unless you actually pick, and then you can have the sea salted caramel, half a heart. Half a heart. I can't make one the same size, but half a heart. That's a bit good. It's a bit good. Anyway, hopefully you thought this movie club installment was decent. Next up, something I have watched before, another classic, the Titanic. Based on a true story. Crazy work. But yeah, that's been Forrest Gump, as well as a few other suggestions for some films. Outside of that, yeah, if you want, I've been watching Sons of Anarchy, rewatch, crazy. Always makes me want to become something part of crime, but because crime's the only thing that really does, pay the bills. Crime's the only thing that pays the bills, unfortunately, big time. If you're happy with like me, I'm happy with a mediocre life, to be fair. I'm fine with that. It's not actually mediocre, it's above average, but way above average. But it feels, by comparison of things in this life, like I say, you have to avoid that with it at all costs. Avoid those things because it's a dangerous game. Comparison is the thief of joy. But yeah, this has been Forrest Gump. Life has been like a box of chocolates, and this coffee and almond biscotti is actually something that I get to choose, because you might never know what you're going to get, but this is what I've picked. Maybe that's part of the thing with this life, in that we do get a choice, but only in the things we can control. So just worry about those things and don't worry about anything else, and hopefully things will work out for the best. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions for anything, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll give it a go. Only thing left to say is for me to wish you to have a great day, 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 have a great day. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this one. Hopefully if it was decent, Like I say, hit me up with those suggestions. Other than that, have a great day. And thanks so much for watching. Yeah, have a great day. Cheers. All the best. God bless.